Today, I'm going to share my story, how I master recursion. There are two main topics today. First, let's see why recursion is so hard. Before we go, please watch pre-order traversal. It will give you much insight for today's topics. There are two approaches for recursion: top-down and bottom-up. We will see the detail at the end of this presentation. I made this up and there are no these things on the textbook. But I am pretty sure that you will get to the point with these terminologies. First, top-down. If you solve the recursion with top-down approach, you will probably think the problem is easy. On the other hand, there are some cases that you should solve the problems with bottom-up approach. In this case, the difficulty increases up, and you might not be able to solve the problem. That's because human brain is like top-down. To solve with bottom-up, you should be able to think like a computer. Let's solve the problem together. Maximum depth of binary tree. This is one of popular LeetCode problem. Please read the problem first. Here is a tree. What is the maximum depth of this tree? It's 3. Isn't it easy? Maybe some of you already solve it within a second. However, if I ask you to solve it without using global variable, is it still easy? I will give you 3 seconds. Any solution pops up onto your head? Most of beginners use top-down approach. But most of beginners are not familiar with bottom-up approach. However, to be master you should solve it with bottom-up approach. Now let's see how to master it. First, top-down. We already saw that the maximum depth is 3. Let's use global variable. Current value is 0. Let's start with root node. Maximum depth becomes 1. Now move down to the left. What is the current depth? It's 2. Therefore, maximum depth becomes 2. Likewise, move down to the right. Still 2. Move down to the left and it changes to 3. Finally, move down to the right and the value is still 3. Here's the code. It's not that tricky. Let's solve the problem with bottom-up. This time, you cannot use the global variable anymore. Compared to this code, you can't use it. However, here is good news. You don't have to use separate method at all. Bottom-up makes the code much simpler. This is final code. Much simpler, isn't it? Only thing you need to care is the return statement. Bottom-up is hard because of return. Let's solve with bottom-up. Recursion is like dominoes game. If you touch first domino, it will eventually fall. Like this. On the other hand, if the distance between two domino tiles are too far, even if you touch the first one, the rest tiles stay as they are. Therefore, you should remember the two important things. First thing is first domino. Just touching only the first one is good enough. Second important thing is relation. The distance between two domino tiles should be short enough to fall. With these two things, you can make the domino tiles fall. Same things are applied to recursion. Instead of first domino, I will call it edge cases. Moreover, we need to make test cases and finally sketch the code. I will tell you detail a few minutes later. Let's solve the same problem with bottom-up. First is making test cases. The maximum depth of this tree is 3. The maximum depth of this tree is 2. Likewise, this is 3. This is 1. Finally, this is 0. If the node is null, the depth is 0. The more you make test cases, the better you solve the problem. Next, edge cases. Finding edge cases is similar to touching the first domino among these trees. Here is one edge case. To use it bottom-up approach, let's return 0 when the node is null. Return the node is same as touching the first domino. Relation. Cause we've just found the first domino, Let's check the distance between two dominoes. Let's compare these two groups of dominoes. Above dominoes will fall, but below dominoes will not fall. Likewise, we should check the neighbors between two dominoes. Just focus on the two. It will make it easy. Here is the node. Instead of top-down, let's use bottom-up. The result is coming up from left and right children. Like this. Left child is 2, and right child is 3. Finally, it become 4. How did you calculate it? First get the maximum of left and right children. Cause the maximum is 3, let's do +1. The code will look like this one. However, this is not the end. Let's see the next step. Sketch. Here is the code that we've made a few seconds ago. However, this is hypothesis. To prove the hypothesis, you should test it. This is called statistical hypothesis testing. All the hypothesis requires tests. Then how? Sketch. Sketch the code. Sketch the code with your computer. This is my secret recipe. This is the hypothesis. Based on it, drew function call like this. Let's start with root node. Cause root is not null, it will skip the if statement. At the line number 5, the max depth method calls same method itself. So it stays at line number 5. I drew like this way. L5 represents staying at the line number 5. Forget about the root node, now let's focus on the child node. Cause it's not null, same thing happens here. Stays at line number 5 and calls same method. Cause child is null, it will return 0. Therefore, you need to draw like this. L represents the return value of left child. Now move on to the line number 6, and the return value of right child is 0. Maximum of 2 children is 0, so +1 becomes 1. Return value becomes 1. I will skip the rest. At the end, the node 5 will return 1, and you should draw like this way. Like this. Like this. Final result is 3. In summary, first you need to make test cases. Based on test cases, write initial hypothesis. You don't have to write full code. Based on the hypothesis, please test the code by sketching it. If you found a bug, please move back to test case step. Improve your code. Test again. Now you become the master in recursion. People usually focus on writing code. However, the more important things are making test cases and test with the test cases. Cause the code is simple. People usually try to memorize it. Don't do that. If you memorize it, when you meet more difficult problems, you can't solve them. Instead, please be familiar with these steps. If you practice it, you will be the master. Thank you for watching this video.